Ever notice your faucets banging, your toilet running for no reason, or a pinhole leak showing up out of nowhere? Chances are your water pressure is way too high, and there is a small valve most homeowners have never even looked at that is supposed to prevent all of that. After over 25 years of fixing plumbing problems, I can tell you that a failing pressure-reducing valve is one of the most common and most ignored issues in residential plumbing. Today, I am walking you through 10 steps to test and replace your PRV yourself for around $50. And stick around for number 9, where I show you the installation trick that prevents leaks from day one, plus a bonus tip at the end that most pros will not tell you. The first step in this process is understanding what a PRV does and why it fails. Your pressure-reducing valve is a bell-shaped brass fitting, usually sitting on your main water line right after it enters your house. Its entire job is to take the high-pressure water coming from the municipal supply, which can be anywhere from 80 to 150 pounds per square inch, and reduce it down to a safe range for your home. Most residential systems are designed to operate between 40 and 60 pounds per square inch. Anything above that starts putting stress on every single connection, valve, appliance, and fitting in your house. Now here is the thing most people do not realize. These valves do not last forever. The internal components, specifically the diaphragm and spring assembly, wear out over time. Sediment and mineral buildup accelerate the process, especially in areas with hard water. Most PRVs have a lifespan of about 7 to 12 years. Yet I have walked into homes where the original valve has been sitting there for 25 or 30 years, slowly failing without anyone knowing. When they fail, they typically fail open, meaning they stop reducing pressure altogether, and your entire system gets hit with full municipal pressure. That is when things start breaking. The second step is recognizing the warning signs of high water pressure. Your house actually gives you plenty of clues before things get serious. The most obvious sign is water hammer, that loud banging or thudding sound in your pipes when you shut off a faucet or when your washing machine valve closes. That is a pressure shock wave moving through your system. You might also notice your faucet aerators spitting or spraying unevenly, toilets running intermittently, or even phantom flushing, or your hot water relief valve on your water heater dripping. Pinhole leaks in copper pipes, especially at joints and elbows, are another telltale sign. If your washing machine hoses are bulging or you are going through faucet cartridges faster than you should, high pressure is very likely the culprit. One thing I always tell homeowners is this: high water pressure does not announce itself with a single dramatic failure. It chips away at your system quietly over months and years until something gives. The sooner you catch it, the less damage you will deal with. The third step is testing your water pressure with a gauge. This is the single most important diagnostic step, and the good news is it costs about $8 to $12 and takes roughly 2 minutes. You want a standard threaded pressure gauge that screws onto any standard hose bib, which is just your outdoor spigot or a laundry faucet. Make sure no water's running anywhere in the house. No dishwasher, no washing machine, no sprinklers, nobody taking a shower. Screw the gauge onto the hose bib, open the valve all the way, and read the gauge. If you are seeing anything above 60 pounds per square inch, your pressure is too high. If you are seeing 80 or above, you need to act now because that kind of pressure is actively damaging your system. I recommend testing at different times of day too. Municipal pressure often spikes at night when demand on the system drops. A reading at 2 in the afternoon might look fine, but a reading at 11 at night might tell a completely different story. Write down your readings. You will need a baseline to compare after the replacement. Now, if this kind of practical plumbing knowledge is something you want more of, I have written a guide called 50 Easy Plumbing Fixes that will save you $10,000. It is packed with repairs you can do yourself this weekend without calling a plumber. Scan the QR code right now or check the first link below. All right, let us continue. The fourth step is locating your pressure-reducing valve. If you have never looked for yours, do not worry. Most homeowners have not. Start at your main water shutoff valve, which is usually in the basement, crawl space, utility room, or garage, depending on your region and home design. Follow the main water line from where it enters the house. Your PRV will typically be within a few feet of the main shutoff, sitting in line on the pipe. It looks like a brass bell or dome shape, usually about 3 to 4 inches wide, with a bolt or screw on top. Some have a visible adjustment nut on the top as well. In warmer climates like the Southwest, your PRV might actually be outside, near the meter or in a ground box. If your home was built before the 1980s, there is a chance you might not have one at all, especially if you are on a well system rather than municipal water. Well systems use a different kind of pressure regulation at the pressure tank. If you are on city water and cannot find a PRV anywhere, that is actually a problem worth addressing, because it means nothing is controlling the pressure entering your home. The fifth step is deciding between adjusting and replacing. This is an important decision point that can save you time and money. If your PRV is less than 7 years old and your pressure readings are only slightly elevated, say 65 to 75 pounds per square inch, you might be able to fix it with a simple adjustment. On the top of most PRVs, there is a bolt or screw with a locking nut. Loosening the locking nut and turning the bolt clockwise typically increases pressure, while counterclockwise decreases it. Make small adjustments, about a quarter turn at a time, then recheck with your gauge. However, if your valve is more than 10 years old, if adjusting it does not change the pressure reading at all, or if you can see visible corrosion, mineral buildup, or any sign of leaking from the valve body, it is time for a full replacement. Trying to nurse an old failing PRV back to life is a losing game. The internals are worn and will only continue to degrade. At around $30 to $50 for a quality replacement valve, it is one of the best investments you can make in your plumbing system. The sixth step is gathering the right tools and parts. Preparation makes this job go smoothly and keeps you from making that frustrating mid-project trip to the hardware store. For the replacement valve itself, I recommend the Watts LF25AUB-Z3, LF25IUB-Z3 for most residential applications. It is a reliable, code-compliant, lead-free valve that fits standard 3/4 inch supply lines, which is what most homes have. Confirm your pipe size before buying. You will also need 2 pipe wrenches or large adjustable wrenches, Teflon tape, pipe dope, which is also called pipe joint compound, a bucket, some old towels, and penetrating oil like PB Blaster if your existing valve has been in place for years. If your supply line connections use compression fittings, pick up new ferrules, and compression nuts as a backup. Reusing old ferrules is one of the most common causes of leaks after a PRV swap. Have everything laid out and within reach before you start turning off water. The seventh step is shutting off water and relieving system pressure. This sounds basic, but doing it wrong can make a real mess. Start by locating your main water shutoff valve. Close it completely by turning it clockwise until it stops. If you have a ball valve with a lever handle, turn it so the handle is perpendicular to the pipe. Once the main is off, open the lowest faucet in your house and the highest faucet in your house. This allows air into the system and drains residual water and pressure from the pipes. Let them run until the flow stops completely. Then go to the hose bib nearest to your PRV and open it with a bucket underneath to catch any remaining water. You want as much water out of that section of pipe as possible before you start wrenching on things. I cannot stress this enough. Even with the main off, there will still be water sitting in the pipes between the shutoff and the PRV. Have towels down. Have the bucket ready. A little preparation here saves you from a wet mess. The 8th step is removing the old pressure-reducing valve. This is the most physically demanding part of the job, so take your time and work smart. Place one wrench on the valve body to hold it steady and the other wrench on the connecting nut. You are going to counter torque, meaning you push the wrenches in opposite directions. This keeps you from putting rotational stress on the supply pipe, which could crack a fitting or damage a solder joint farther down the line. If the valve has been in place for more than a few years, spray the connections with penetrating oil and let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes before you start. Old pipe dope and corrosion can make these connections incredibly stubborn. Once you break the first connection loose, unthread it and move to the other side. Keep the bucket under the work area because water will come out. Once the old valve is off, inspect the pipe threads carefully. You are looking for any damage, corrosion, or debris. Clean the threads with a wire brush or a rag. If the threads are badly corroded or damaged, you may need to cut the pipe and install new adapters, which adds a step but is absolutely necessary for a leak-free connection. This is the step where patience makes all the difference. Rushing the removal is how supply pipes get damaged. The 9th step, and this is the critical one, is installing the new pressure-reducing valve. Before you even think about threading anything on, check the flow direction arrow on the new valve. Every PRV has a stamped arrow showing which direction water needs to flow through it. If you install it backwards, it will not regulate pressure at all and could actually cause problems. The arrow must point in the direction of water flow, meaning from the street side toward the house side. Now wrap the male pipe threads with Teflon tape. Wrap it clockwise when you are looking at the end of the thread, and go around at least 5 to 6 times. After the tape, apply a thin layer of pipe dope over the Teflon. This belt and suspenders approach is what prevents leaks. Using only tape or only dope is not as reliable as using both together. Thread the valve onto the supply line by hand first. Get it as tight as you can with your fingers before reaching for the wrenches. Then use your 2-wrench counter torque method again to snug it down. You want firm and tight, but do not over-tighten. Over-tightening brass fittings can crack them, and you will not notice until you turn the water back on. A good rule of thumb is 1 to 1.5 turns past hand tight with the wrenches. Make sure the valve is oriented so the adjustment bolt on top is accessible. You will need to reach it for the final pressure setting. The 10th and final step is setting the correct pressure and final testing. With everything connected, close all the faucets you opened earlier. Slowly turn your main water shutoff back on. And I mean slowly. Open it a quarter turn and wait. Listen for any hissing or spraying at the new connections. If you hear nothing, continue opening the shutoff gradually until it is fully open. Check every connection point on the new PRV for leaks. Use a dry paper towel and run it along each joint. If the paper stays dry, you are in good shape. Now connect your pressure gauge to the hose bib again and check your reading. Most experts recommend setting residential water pressure between 45 and 55 pounds per square inch. 50 is a great target for most homes. If your reading is too high or too low, adjust the bolt on top of the PRV. Remember, clockwise increases pressure, counterclockwise decreases it. Make small quarter-turn adjustments, then recheck the gauge. Once you hit your target pressure, tighten the locking nut to hold the setting in place. Run every fixture in the house for a minute, then go back and recheck your connections one final time. Check again after 24 hours. Some very slow leaks only show up after the system has been pressurized for a full day. All right, here is the bonus tip that pros actually use but rarely talk about. After you install a new PRV and set your pressure, install a thermal expansion tank on your water heater if you do not already have one. Here is why this matters. When your PRV is working correctly, it acts as a one-way valve. Water comes into your house, but it cannot push back out toward the street. That means when your water heater heats up and the water inside expands, that extra volume has nowhere to go. The pressure spikes inside your closed system, sometimes up to 150 pounds per square inch or more, right past the safety threshold. A thermal expansion tank absorbs that extra volume and keeps your system pressure stable. They cost about $30 to $45, mount right on the cold water line above your water heater, and take about 20 minutes to install. Without one, your brand new PRV is protecting you from street pressure, but nothing is protecting you from pressure spikes generated inside your own home. Most plumbing codes in the United States now require a thermal expansion tank whenever a PRV is installed. It is the other half of the equation that most homeowners never hear about. That wraps it up. If this was useful, you will love the full book. 50 step-by-step plumbing fixes with diagrams, all in one guide. Link is below. Hit subscribe so you do not miss the next video. Thanks for watching.